If you are watching this video, you are searching for that spark. You are looking for the blueprint to become unbreakable in the face of life's most punishing obstacles. Today, we are not just talking about motivation. We are talking about absolute, uncompromising discipline. We are talking about a man who walked into the most ruthless testing ground on the planet and walked out completely untouched. His name is Khabib Nurmagomedov. They call him the Eagle. He retired with a professional mixed martial arts record of 29 wins and 0 losses. In a sport where any man can be knocked out, submitted, or broken, Khabib never lost a single fight. He barely even lost a round, and incredibly, he went through his entire UFC career without ever suffering a cut or bleeding significantly. How does a human being achieve such flawless dominance? How do you build a legacy so bulletproof that the entire world stops to watch? It does not start under the bright lights of Las Vegas. It starts in the cold, unforgiving mountains, and it starts with a choice. Listen closely, warriors, because the blueprint to greatness is about to be revealed. You cannot forge a sword without fire, and you cannot build a champion in comfort. Khabib's story begins in Sildi, a remote, rugged mountain village in the Dagestan region of Russia. The environment was harsh, the winters were severe, and the resources were scarce. But instead of complaining about his circumstances, Khabib's environment became his ultimate advantage. The people of Dagestan understand that physical and mental endurance are not optional. They are a requirement for survival. When Khabib was just 9 years old, his training took a turn that most of us cannot even fathom. He was filmed wrestling a bear cub. Why? Because his father wanted to cultivate his grappling adjustments and, most importantly, completely eliminate his instinctual fear. Think about your own life. What are the bears you are running from? What are the terrifying challenges you are avoiding because they seem too big, too strong, or too intimidating? Khabib learned at the age of 9 that if you can face the bear head on, if you can grapple with the beast without fear, nothing else in this world can break your spirit. You must step into your own crucible of hardship. Embrace your struggles, because the very environment that threatens to break you is the exact same environment that will forge your armor, the Father's plan, and absolute sacrifice. You cannot reach the peak of the mountain alone. You need a guide, a system, and a relentless commitment to the process. For Khabib, that guiding force was his father, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib was a decorated veteran, a master of sports in freestyle wrestling, and an expert in judo and sambo. He did not just want to raise a fighter, he wanted to build a man of honor, discipline, and education. When the family moved to the capital city of Makhachkala, Khabib turned his home into a military-style training camp. He housed up to 16 young relatives and students under one roof. Khabib lived in this communal house for nearly 8 years, training twice a day, going to school, and doing his own chores without his mother there to coddle him. This was not a life of luxury, it was a life of ultimate sacrifice. The training sessions were brutal, featuring 5-minute grappling rounds with almost no rest. They were taught that to achieve greatness, you must forego personal comforts and submit your ego to the collective goal. In their rules, if you were the youngest, you did exactly what you were told, and you respected your elders. Warriors, look at your own daily routine. Are you choosing the easy path? Are you prioritizing comfort over your ultimate potential? Khabib reached the top because he submitted to the Father's plan. He traded short-term pleasure for long-term legendary status. You must build your own training camp of the mind. Eliminate distractions. Surround yourself with people who demand excellence from you. Put in the hours when no one is watching, and do not let your ego destroy your growth. The philosophy of relentless forward pressure. When Khabib stepped into the octagon, he didn't just fight, he drowned his opponents. His style, famously known as the smash style, was a predatory blend of combat sambo, wrestling, and judo. But the secret to Khabib's dominance was not just raw, brute strength. It was highly sophisticated, relentless pressure. Khabib mastered the art of cage wrestling. Instead of trying to take opponents down in the open, he used the cage as a weapon. He forced his opponents backward, cutting off their exits, and suffocating them against the fence. If an opponent defended his first takedown attempt, Khabib didn't stop. He used chain wrestling, seamlessly transitioning from a single leg to a body lock to a trip, constantly attacking until the opponent physically and mentally crumbled. He developed systems like the twist body lock. When an opponent tried to dig in an arm to defend themselves, Khabib would instantly change his angle, twisting to remove their leverage entirely. On the ground, he used the Dagestani handcuff, trapping his opponent's wrists so they couldn't balance or defend themselves, leaving them completely vulnerable. He would literally talk to his opponents while striking them on the ground, telling them to give up and that he deserved the win, breaking their spirit completely. This is how you must attack your goals. Do not just make one attempt at success and give up when you face resistance. If life defends your first attack, you chain it into a second attack and a third. You apply relentless forward pressure. When an obstacle tries to gain leverage on you, twist the angle. Change your perspective. Find a new way to break the balance of your problems. You must overwhelm your challenges with so much consistency and preparation that failure simply gives up, dominating the elite. Because of this unbreakable mindset, Khabib destroyed the absolute best fighters in the world. He set an all-time UFC record by landing 21 takedowns in a single fight against Abel Trujillo. He possessed an incredible 84% takedown defense, meaning almost no one could impose their will on him. He faced the most dangerous strikers on the planet. Against Conor McGregor in the biggest, most financially successful fight in MMA history, an event that drew 2.4 million pay-per-view buys, Khabib walked through the fire, dropped McGregor with a right hand, and submitted him in the 4th round. Against Dustin Poirier, he locked in a rear naked choke in the 3rd round. Against Justin Gaethje, the most violent hitter in the division, Khabib walked through heavy shots to put Gaethje to sleep with a triangle choke in round 2. He didn't just win, he made world champions look like amateurs. He imposed his will because he had spent decades bleeding and sweating in the shadows. Greatness is not an accident. Dominance is the compound interest of thousands of hours of unseen, agonizing hard work. But perhaps the most motivational aspect of Khabib Nurmagomedov is not what he did inside the cage, but how he walked away from it. In July 2020, Khabib suffered the greatest loss of his life when his father and mentor, Abdulmanap, passed away. When the UFC called to offer him his next fight, Khabib spoke with his mother. She did not want him to fight without his father by his side. Khabib made her a promise. The fight against Justin Gaethje would be his last. After submitting Gaethje at UFC 254, at the absolute peak of his physical prime, as the undisputed pound-for-pound king of the world, Khabib wept in the center of the cage and announced his retirement. UFC President Dana White tried to convince him to return for massive paydays, but Khabib refused. He had given his word to his mother, and for Khabib, a man's word is worth more than any amount of money. I don't fight for the money. I fight for my legacy. I fight for history. I fight for my people, Khabib once said. Even as he built a post-fighting business empire with an estimated net worth of $40 to $50 million, Khabib remained true to his values. He bought his own MMA promotion, Eagle FC, but he completely banned gambling sponsors and bookmakers from his events. Why? Because he believes gambling destroys families and creates addiction, and he refuses to profit off the ruin of others, no matter how much they offer to pay him. He lives modestly, deeply devoted to his family, his faith, and his community. Warriors, what is your price? Will you sell out your values for a quick dollar, or are you building a legacy that will echo in eternity? True motivation is not driven by external wealth. It is driven by internal integrity. When you know exactly who you are, when you stand firmly on your beliefs, you become an immovable force, passing the torch. After retiring, Khabib didn't just fade into the background. He took up his father's mantle, stepping into the role of a coach and mentor to pass down the knowledge, energy, and experience he had accumulated. Fight for your legacy. Fight for your history. Get up, stay disciplined, and smash your goals today.